The view towards Manhattan from Flushing. And the Yankees have a lead at 2-1. Tomorrow on Fox Saturday Baseball, the excitement of the Yankees and the Mets continues. It's Derek Jeter and it's Ray Ordonez and the gang we're watching tonight. Coverage begins at 12:30 and can be seen locally on Channel 5 WNYW. Al Trautwig and Ken Singleton are thanks to Howie Rose for stopping by. It's Brian McRae stepping to the plate. The Yankees have taken the lead, and I don't care what league you play in. That leadoff guy gets on, you're going to pay. McRae launches one down the line and right, and it is off the foul pole, a home run. McRae ties the game, and the Mets answer right back. This place is buzzing and the apple is up.
Well, let's check out the location. That's what you look for first. Middle of the plate and up, and McRae got it. He wasn't sure if it was fair or foul, but Paul O'Neill will tell you. Watch it hit the fair pole for the home run.
Now the batter's Ray Ordonez. Big breaking ball. One more time.
That's number 9 on the year for McRae. Yeah, the hitter will usually tell you, and that one stays fair, and see the Mets dugout. They're happy.
Ordonez had an outstanding series against the Orioles. But his batting average is still at .238. He turned in a stunner earlier in the ball game, grabbing a line drive and turning that into a double play, almost a triple play, killing a potential Yankee rally. Boy, we've got quite a game here. The game is responding to everything that preceded it. The 2-1 to Ordonez. Popped up, headed toward the seats. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, the Mets are looking for improved offense from Ordonez. Last year, he had an 0 for 37 streak during the course of the season, and that's hard to fight your way back from. It broke the Met record, which was set by Don Zimmer back in 1962. Zim had an 0 for 34. And Zim was on his way to Cincinnati after that.
He thanks you for bringing that, that up.
You know, they just seem to coincide. You get the places where they jump out at you. You know, those numbers jump at you. 0 for 34. Ordonez, 0 for 37. He threw some 0-fers on some people.
Fly ball, right field. Coming over is Curtis to call off Paul O'Neill. 1 out. Ordonez retired on the fly ball toward the gap.
Pitcher Al Leiter.
I'm trying to think of my worst 0-fer.
Yeah, you better come up with one on yourself.
Well, you know, it
make it up. 0-for
might have gotten into
46, something.
No, never.
Sorry.
Never.
Al Leiter swinging strike 1. I mentioned if the leadoff guy gets on, doesn't matter what league you're in, you're going to pay. Leiter gave the Yankees 3 leadoff men. 2 of them came around to score. Hideki Irabu put the leadoff man on the first. He came around to score. In this inning, the leadoff man was Brian McRae, and he just took everything into his own hands. 1-2 to the Met pitcher.
That was only the 2nd hit for the Mets in this game. Hideki's walked more than he's given up hits.
In there for strike 3. Leiter is retired. 5 strikeouts for Hideki Irabu. MSG's coverage of the Subway Series is brought to you in part by MCS Cannon, keeping people in business. So we're 2 outs deep into the bottom of the 5th. 2-2. And the hitter is Edgardo Alfonzo. Spent some time in the DL in May, but by all accounts just hasn't been as good as he was to raise everybody's expectations a year ago to what he could be. Greatness was predicted for Edgardo Alfonzo. Hot shot to left and deep. Range back. Over the wall. Mets lead 3-2. far, the reverse jinx is working. We mentioned how Knobloch hadn't come through. He singled in a run. And here's Edgardo Alfonso giving the Mets their second home run of the inning.
Joe Torre looks on as a celebration across the diamond. Fourth home run of the year for Alfonso.
People just now settling in their seats. Bernard Gilkey, Girardi fires to Jorge Posada. And that ends the fifth. Well, the Mets come right back after the Yankees take the lead. 2 launches. Solo shots off of Hideki Irabu. See you on the postgame. Bill Daughtry with an update at the MSG Sports Desk. Bill.
Now fast forward on Yankees Rewind.
Full house here at Shea Stadium. First of 3 between the Yankees and the Mets. The Subway Series. Some pretty good fastball hitters coming up this inning for the Mets. And Mike Piazza is going to lead it off. He has walked and grounded to short. Splitter hangs up high for ball 1. You got to figure this might be Hideki Irabu's last inning. He is leading off the 7th inning, and Joe Torre might go to the bench for a pinch hitter. Ooh, good splitter. 1-1.
I would think there's no question that it would be his last inning. I think what Joe Torre and Mel Stottlemyre are going to look at, there's the good splitter, is getting through the heart of this Mets order this inning. First sign of trouble. You might see Mendoza up again. He was up earlier.
Splitter again. A ball and 2 strikes. You know, this is the first time that I've really seen Hideki start the splitter out high and have it drop in the zone. Usually it's low and the hitters chase it for strikes. I don't know if that's by design or it's just the way it's working tonight. Fastball is fouled back by Piazza.
And you saw him kind of shake his head. Mike Piazza, I've heard you say so many times, you get one good pitch and at bat to drive. And he tried to slip that fastball by him, and he had a pretty good hack at it.
Pitch is lined towards right field. O'Neill going back, still going back. It's over his head. One hops the wall. Piazza's rounded first, and he's on his way to second for the leadoff double. And it looked like Paul O'Neill misjudged that ball. And there's the phone, and the bullpen will get busy in a hurry.
It gives you an idea, Kenny, of the strength of Mike Piazza. And one of 2 things happened. Paul O'Neill either did not pick up the ball or he's not accustomed to the ball being hit that hard. You see the extension. Piazza just jogging down there. He thinks it's going to be a line drive out. Now he turns it on and gets an easy double. But it's a ball that O'Neill usually catches.
John Olerud, the job is to move Piazza at least to third base. With 1 out, instead he takes a strike. That was a catchable ball. Mendoza's back up in the bullpen. That's towards the middle. It's going into center field for a base hit. Piazza's the third. Cookie Rojas will hold it. Curtis with the throw to the plate, and it was a good one. But the Mets have runners on the corners with nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th. And Carlos Baerga will come to the plate.
Yeah, pretty evident that Hideki Irabu's fastball these last couple innings, there's the throw over the cutoff man, but Girardi's there to trap it and keep Olerud from advancing. 2 home runs the last inning, and now Piazza with the line drive to right, and Olerud hits it sharply. And that's what you go through if you're Joe Torre. You're trying to milk 1 more inning out of your starter because he's the first hitter in the top of the 7th.
Baerga tonight has not gotten the ball out of the infield. 91 pitches thus far for Irabu as Bobby Valentine looks on. Baerga's grounded to second, grounded to first. First and third, nobody out here in the sixth. Baerga checks the swing. He went around to Zed Rapuanu. And that's going to be a strike, 1-1. Well, one of the moves that Joe Torre could make would be a double switch if he wants to take Arabu out during this inning.
Another slow curve, and you can see Baerga try to check. Arabu throws that slow curve so much slower than his other pitches. It's down, in the 60-mile-an-hour range.
Grounded to Posada, steps on the bag, should have come home. Goes to second, and they got Olerud in the rundown. He'll be tagged out by Jeter. He had time to get Piazza at the plate, and I think a more experienced first baseman would have made that play. Joe Torre's played a lot of first base.
Right fielder Butch Husky.
They do get a double play, but they could have gotten it at home.
No question, it's the inexperience. Right there is when Posada can turn and throw to home. Gets Olerud in the rundown, but the run scores easily. He had the out at first, no question, but he could have gotten it to home and nailed Piazza, or had an opportunity to get him.
Butch Husky takes a pitch for a call strike.
And I don't think there's any doubt that Joe Torre realizes that these things are going to happen. It's a bit of a calculated gamble with Tino not swinging the bat well.
Fouled back by Husky, 0-2.
One of the options was Dale Swaim, who was not as good a hitter from the right side of the plate. And there's Girardi with a little pat of encouragement, because Posada knew immediately that he threw to the wrong base.
Look out. Breaking ball up. Husky down. A ball and 2 strikes.
That's that perspiration from the long sleeve shirt. Husky knows it was a breaking ball, got a fan reaction, but you're wearing a long sleeve shirt on a night like tonight. That perspiration gets down around your fingers, and it's very difficult to keep a grip on the ball.
Fastball right back over Hideki's head. That's an answer. And Husky has a base hit.
Center fielder Brian McRae.
That is hit number 6 for the Mets in the ball game, and that's going to bring Joe Torre out of the dugout. Now, McRae went deep his last time. He's a left-handed switch hitter, batting left-handed.
That's got to be fun for Joe, Kenny.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that in the American League. You bring your lineup card out.
You have to inform the umpire of your intentions before you cross the line. If you cross the line first, you can't make the double switch. Tino Martinez will come out and play first base. Tino will bat in the 9th spot, and Ramiro Mendoza will come in the game, and he'll bat in Posada's spot in the order. Yankees half of the 7th inning. As you see the scoreboard, the Mets lead it 4-3. Tuesday, Tino Martinez and the Bombers are back on MSG Network. So they collide with the Philadelphia Phillies. It all starts at 7:30 at Yankee Stadium. Then on Wednesday, New York and Philadelphia continue their interleague battle in Bronx. It's all coming up on MSG. Please check your local listings. Isn't that beautiful? The World's Fair from years gone by here in New York. Tino Martinez, batting 9th in the order, is going to lead it off against Al Leiter. Here's the numbers on Tino. 10 home runs, 54 runs batted in. Trying to get that average jacked up again. Breaking ball is fouled off, and quickly the count is 0-2.
And you're going to see Al Leiter, and again, the National League rules, you're going to see him pitch this inning like it's the 9th. He's got a 1-run lead. He's due to hit second. Chances are he knows this is his last inning.
Found something he liked. Here's the 0-2 pitch.
There's one of those double shakes when if you were a hitter, you'd know. He shook negative twice, and then he nodded his head. That means he wanted the fastball, but he wanted a different location, and he got the outside location.
Hey, they're not on the same page with Tino Martinez at the plate here. He and Mike Piazza. Well, it's shaking again. Call time. That's it, Tino.
Well,
call time.
Leiter knows Martinez better than Piazza because Mike, of course, in the National League, and Leiter has had a lot of success against Tino from their American League days.
In the dirt. Count is level at 2-2.
As Bob Gibson used to say to Tim McCarver, our colleague right next door to us here on WWR with the Mets telecast, that Bob Gibson always said, no, catchers don't call pitches, they make suggestions. And then the pitcher takes it from there.
Well, there's a three-fingered suggestion. Oh, good swing, but it's fouled back, and the count holds at 2 balls and 2 strikes. The other day in Atlanta, I mentioned the fact that I thought Tino was starting to come out of it a little bit because he was having better swings. He was hitting the ball harder even when he was making outs and taking pitches better.
That was a good swing right there.
Yes, it was. Pitch is line foul to the seats. Count holds at 2-2. And one thing he's doing here, he's making Leiter work. Leiter's up to 96 pitches. He's having a knob block type of an at-bat. Well, his neck's going to hurt after all that shaking. And he chases the pitch and strikes out. Now Leiter picks up strikeout number 6 on the night.
Fouled off some pretty good pitches, but then Leiter makes a real good breaking ball down and out of the strike zone. And Martinez can't hold up. But no action in the Mets bullpen, and you're right, he made Leiter throw a number of pitches that total up around 100, and now he's got to deal with Knobloch and Jeter. All quiet out there in the Mets bullpen in right field.
Knobloch's base hit his last time up in the 5th inning drove in a run. Been on base twice. Changeup is up high, ball 1. Changeup, you don't want to throw changeups up there because if somebody times one, it's like a freebie. Get your best swing at it. That's a called strike. 1-1 on Knobloch. I wonder how Knobloch thinks last year his interleague play was in the Central Division. I don't think the atmosphere was like it is here.
No way.
The Yankees Toyota box score. Chases it. Looks like a cutter, and it's a ball and 2 strikes.
A lot of late movement on Leiter's pitches. See, that one looked about knee-high to be a strike and broke down and in.
Well, the Mets fans want every pitch. The count is 2-2. Can you blame them? There is Derek Jeter. Waiting for his turn. He'll be next. Boy, what a backdrop. Full stadium. I'll tell you, now you should start the count at 3. You'd save so much time. I've said that before, but the fact is the count once again on Knobloch has run full at 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Earlier at bat, he was 0-2 and drew a walk. There's Apodaca and Valentine talking over the bullpen situation. All quiet in the Yankee dugout.
Payoff pitch is hit high and deep, but fouled on the right field line. And there'll be another 3-2 pitch to Knobloch. Good catch for that fan.
Well, the fans couldn't ask for anything more than this. You know, some of them have come together, Yankee fans and Mets fans, and with a close game, some very close plays on both sides in terms of fielding plays.
There's ball 4. Knobloch draws another walk. And that means that he's quite capable of stealing.
But obviously Bobby Valentine has decided that Al Leiter is going to at least face Paul O'Neill, because again, no one is up in that Met bullpen. Mets with the identical record right now at this stage of the season that they had last year. Only difference is their pitching's been a little better, defense a little better. They have not scored as many runs.
Jeter's up with 1 out and 1 on. He's hit the ball hard a couple of times. Throw the first, and Knobloch is back. He with 20 stolen bases.
Yeah, and this is the most counterproductive play the Mets have been using it the entire game. You might get Knobloch, you might get 1 runner a year, but from a pitcher standpoint, it really bothers your concentration, and an Olerud standpoint, he's got too much to do there.
Well, first of all, you have to hit a moving target.
Yeah, you'd like to, if you're Olerud, you'd like to be on the bag and break over and cut off the hole. Now, if he breaks toward the bag and Leiter misreads the sign, that whole hole is open. There's too many bad things that can happen with that play.
Here's the score, 4-3. Mets leading the Yankees, 7th inning. Another throw to first. Knobloch is back, standing up. Ooh, swing and a miss by Jeter, strike one.
Of course, if you're Bobby Valentine, not having pitched, he may not know quite what it does to Leiter's concentration as Jeter swings over the cutter, but he's hoping it'll confuse Knobloch and not allow him to get as good a jump.
To the outside corner, 0-2 on Jeter. Good pitch by Leiter.
More than a one-dimensional pitcher this year. Inside pitches, and that one right at the knees on the outside corner.
This is the type of game where certain families have Met and Yankee fans in it. Could split a family up, at least for 3 days. Knocked out by Piazza. He can't find it, but Knobloch does not go. For an instance there, Piazza did not know where the ball was.
And I don't know if Knobloch did, because good base runners, you see it gets the glove down but hops away. Good base runners usually have a little bit of their momentum going towards second base. By the time Piazza found it, a little too late for Knobloch to react.
Sometimes you get some help from the hitter, though, and you saw Jeter kind of frozen. He wasn't going to make a move one way or the other. Count is now 1-2. Just outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, the fans realize this is the type of game can turn on one pitch.
Piazza, you could see he had to reach for that. Knobloch a little confused about the sign from Willie Randolph. Make sure he's got the right one from Jose Cardinal.
Well, you want to try and stay out of the double play if you can. He's not going. The pitch to Jeter is low, ball 3. You got to figure he's going. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out.
And now, if you're Chuck Knobloch, there's no reason to have to get an exceptionally good jump. You don't want to be tricked over there at first base. You could take a shorter lead. Just make sure the ball goes home and trust that Jeter will make contact. This is not the pitch to get picked off on.
Pitch to Jeter, he's jammed. Going to be a tough play at first. Jeter with the speed, beats the play. The hustle of Derek Jeter picks up an infield hit. The Yankees have 2 men on. Leiter late to the bag.
Nothing wrong with the pitch, right in on the hands, but you can see Leiter in your picture falling off to the third base side, and Olerud has but one thing to do, and Jeter neatly slid under the tag. There's that fall-off move toward third, and once he did that with Jeter's speed, he had no chance to get him just in case. That's one of the few times it's a pretty good idea to slide head first, avoid the tag.
Look at the hustle of Derek Jeter. He does it time and time again. This time it pays off.
That's the reason Leiter didn't get there. You see his body in position, falling toward third base. No chance. And I think the Mets are concerned now in falling off to third base. Did he injure himself? You fall off to third base, and then the ball is hit that way, and you quick make that change of direction. And Leiter limping around, indicating that maybe he did something to that left leg.
Looks like he's going to take a few warm-up tosses to see if he can continue here. The Yankees have 2 men on. Good speed on the bases with Knobloch and Jeter. 1 out, and Paul O'Neill at the plate.
They'll let him throw a number of pitches, which will do a couple of things. That certainly didn't look good.
he's leaving. So Al Leiter will limp off of the mound. And in trying to make that play at first base, injures himself and will leave here in the bottom of the top of the 7th inning with a couple of men aboard. See him gingerly walk down the dugout steps.
See if he can pick up the left leg of Al. He finishes. Now he breaks back. And it appeared it was the left leg as he tries to tag Jarrett. You can see him limping right there.
So we'll be back. Stay tuned. It's 4-3.
Don't be so.
4-3. Mets leading the Yankees. One out here in the 7th. The Yankees have 2 men aboard. And Paul O'Neill will be coming to the plate as Mel Rojas is taking over the pitching for the injured Al Leiter. Tomorrow, you catch great arena football action when the City Hawks meet the Grand Rapids Rampage at City Hawk Arena Football at 7:30 right here on MSG. Of course, Rojas will get all the time that he wants to warm up. Shouldn't take him too long. He's used to heating up in a hurry.
Throw a couple chewing gum wrappers and be loose on a night like tonight. And inside baseball fans might say, why is Bobby Valentine bringing a right-hand pitcher in to face a good left-hand hitter like Paul O'Neill? And he's got plenty of lefties in the bullpen, but I'm sure Valentine has gone to the stat sheets as we do and see that Rojas is much more effective against left-hand hitters. Now, Willie Randolph is telling Chuck Knobloch what to look for from him on any ball that's, say, a ball that's hit into the outfield, or he's going to tell Knobloch where Ordonez is should the Mets try to pull a pickoff play. I think those raising the hands up in the air when he does that, he's saying, get a bigger lead, get a bigger lead.
Now you're looking at Rojas, who was the man in Montreal after John Wetland was traded to the New York Yankees. Rojas became the closer. He had been a very effective setup man and became a very good closer for the Expos. But like so many of their players, got too expensive and had to move on. He'll face O'Neill. Rojas, his most effective pitch to left-handed hitters is his splitter, which at times is very, very good. Yankees with speed on the bases. Knobloch at the bottom of your screen there, and Jeter's at first. And Rojas trying to fake Knobloch back. You can see against lefties, 180. How about right-handed? 397.
Takes that splitter away from him.
Pitch to O'Neill, hit high and deep to left field. Gilkey going back, still going back. This one is gone. First pitch from Rojas is hit out of the ballpark. The Yankees lead 6-4. Well, the double got over O'Neill's head. That home run got over Gilkey's head. Well, Rojas is down, giving up a home run to a left-handed hitter this year. And the Yankees all out of the dugout to greet Paul O'Neill.
And this ball is smoked. It is down and away. As you said, Rojas has had success against lefties. O'Neill went down and got it and drove it. And I don't know that I've seen Paul O'Neill quite that emotional on a home run during the regular season. Like, I mean, these games don't mean anything, right? But with Tino Martinez not hitting and Bernie Williams out, this guy is the one that stepped up.
I think he knew it as soon as he touched it off. Get going. Yeah. Had some big home runs lately. The pitch to Range. Splitter swung on and missed. Look at Zim. It's up. It is good.
It's a three-point shot.
Range swings, a bouncing ball, foul, handled by Jose Cardinal. Range is 1 for 3.
Now, one of the differences, we covered it in the open of our telecast. is when the Yankees score 4 runs or more, or the Mets. And that's the reason the Yankee bullpen has such a good record. The Yankees score a lot of runs late in the ballgame.
Check swing by Raines. Stays alive, but the count is still 0-2. Paul O'Neill. Triple yesterday in Atlanta.
I mean, he popped a few hands high-fiving coming into that dugout. He was pumped about that home run, and don't blame him.
Home run in the opening game of the series in Atlanta. Bobby Valentine went to the bullpen. His bullpen gave it up on the first pitch they threw. Pitch to Raines to short for Ordonez. The throw to first is in time. That's 2 down.
And there will be the second guessers, I'm sure, that will look at Valentine and say, why a right-hander versus a lefty? But even with O'Neill hitting that home run, you can't fault Valentine for making that move. O'Neill was 1 for 5, and you saw the graphic, how well Rojas had handled it, but Paul just looked for a breaking ball, got a hanger, and beat him on it.
Looked like a splitter that did not do much. Jorge Posada will step in. Is Paul O'Neill, the man of the hour, or recent hours for that matter. Swing and a miss, strike 1 to Posada. What can you do? You put them out there. Sometimes they don't execute. Pitch for a strike to Posada. 0-2.
You wouldn't second-guess Mel Rojas. That's his best pitch. But again, it gives a little credibility to something I followed for a lot of years. There are more home runs late in the ball game on bad breaking balls than on fastballs.
0-2 pitch misses inside.
And I say that from experience, from throwing a lot of bad sliders late in the game. A fastball is still the best pitch. And again, Rojas has a great splitter, but that was a bad breaking ball.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Some boos from Mel Rojas. Paul O'Neill may be the toast of the town tonight in New York. And this is the reason. A 3-run shot here in the top of the 7th. The Yankees bullpen now trying to be up to the task to hold down the Mets. We'll be back.
Due to the length of today's game, we now fast forward on Yankees Rewind.
Flashballs popping around Shea Stadium as John Hudek takes over the pitching. You mentioned what a hard thrower he was before that circulatory problem, but again, one of the many effective Met relievers coming out of that bullpen. And he'll face Chad Curtis here in the top of the 8th. More than a strikeout at inning, some control problems, high walk total. First pitch, blooped out into short right center, and Curtis will make a wide turn on Husky, but he'll hold it first. And the Yankees have the leadoff runner out here in the top of the 8th.
Third baseman Scott Brocious.
You know, this is a time of game when the Yankees are involved in close games, and we've seen them time and time again stretch out the lead, take a little pressure off the relievers late in ball games. Let's see if they can build on a 2-run lead here in the top of the 8th inning.
Curtis wants to see the sign again. This again is where the National League play comes in. Mendoza is in the on-deck circle. Pitch out, nothing doing. And Joe Torre will leave him in the on-deck circle just to put some doubt in Bobby Valentine's mind. Because if Brocious were to reach, he could bunt. If Brocious makes an out, Mendoza back to the bench, you use a pinch hitter and get a relief pitcher up. Might even be Darryl Strawberry.
You think that would bring a rise out of the crowd?
Ooh. Good swing by Brocious, fouled it straight back. 1-1.
You know, as a hitter, when you take a swing like that, you go home at night and you think about it. You know, even if you win the game, you figure, man, I could have put 2 more runs up on that swing and had at least 1 more in the home run total.
But probably won't think about it as much as Mel Rojas will think about the one pitch that he threw to Paul O'Neill, which is the difference in this game. Outside, 2-1. It's everything I think Mets and Yankee fans hope for. It's a close game, back and forth. The Mets have put 4 runs on the board. They don't do that very often. And it's a trademark of the Yankee team to score late. They've done that. 3-1 now.
Good running, Kaat. Curtis looking across the diamond at Willie Randolph. And you don't see Joe Torre giving a sign. Sometimes the manager's not the one that gives a sign. He will tell somebody in the dugout, and then, yeah, he's shaking his head. That might mean just, yeah, go.
Curtis not going, and the pitch is high. And by not going, that will allow Joe Torre to keep Mendoza in the ball game, and we'll see if the batting practice the Yankee pitchers have been doing will pay off. Now you're going to see a team picture on the mound right here at Shea Stadium as Joe discusses with Don Zimmer the strategy, and that's where the Yankees excel. That's the best winning percentage in baseball, 46-8. Look how many more times they have put 4 runs on the board than the Mets. And the Mets try to do it with good pitching. They got their 4 runs tonight. Look at this. I mean, they got enough signs that they run out there.
I hope Udek speaks Spanish.
Yeah. Alfonso explaining one of 4 or 5 plays that Bobby Valentine can employ.
Well, I don't blame them for doing that because they want everybody on the same page. You don't want somebody being in the wrong position. And when Mendoza at the plate, let's see if they put the wheel play on where the shortstop will try and cover third and Alfonso will charge from third.
You usually try to bunt it to third, and he does. And it's a good one. Udek has but one play by Inga, just got there. And will Mendoza, I mean, he won't get quite the reception that O'Neill got for the home run, but there's some guys in that dugout will appreciate that bunt. His first of his career.
I mean, experienced hitters can't get it done this well. The wheel play was on. You see Ordonez moving in this direction over to third. Alfonso charging. It's going to be the pitcher, Hudek, who comes up with it. And the throw is right to Baerger at first base. Sacrifice successful. And it's a big smile on his face. He knows I don't get a chance to do that very often.
But see, that's what I like about National League Baseball. People will say, who wants to see a pitcher go up and strike out? But when you do something like that, you feel there's a lot of satisfaction. You helped your team out to possibly score a couple of more runs.
El Brujo. Buen toque. Good bunt.
For not having done it a lot, that is perfect execution. The bat's...
He flexes his knees and has the bat level and gets it down. You move the bat up and down by flexing your knees.
And Mendoza with a chance to help his team add a couple of runs and could pick up a win as Bobby Valentine again has gone to his bullpen. Yankees lead this by 2. They're threatening to increase that lead. We'll be back on MSG after this. 6-4 Yankees, 1 out in the top of the 8th, and New York threatens New York Yankees, that is, threatened as you see Brian Bohannon's pitching line. 50 innings as a starter and a reliever. And the curveball in for a strike. And again, I mean, these Mets got more moves than Mayflower Van Lines. They play the infield way back, and then they run them in just to try to deceive the opposition. There's Curtis and Brocious. Now they're going to stand. Sidearm. It's just outside. Bohannon, a former #1 pick of the Texas Rangers 11 years ago. Always a hard thrower. Bothered by some control problems and has come up with a little better breaking ball.
He has wanted to be a starter. But the fact is control and the lack of a breaking ball or one that can get close to the plate. You saw Tino vacate. He's seen that before.
There's a couple times you don't want to get hit, but that Tino almost turned into that breaking ball and just missed him in the back again. Counts 2-1.
You know, talking to Tino before the game, he said that's the way I take pitches inside if I'm going to be hit. He turns his back on him, takes him in the back, which is not always good. I used to have the fall away method, fall backwards. Make sure your head's out of the way. That's not bad, but you can see a lot of that was done early.
Outside, the count has gone to 3-1.
Now with Bohannon on the mound and 2 right-handed hitters with Knobloch and Jeter scheduled next in the Yankee order, there's nobody warming up for the Mets. There is not a right-hander up in their bullpen, so Bohannon is in charge trying to get people out here.
And He lost it. A big base on balls drawn by Tino Martinez. And as Kenny said, no right-hander
Second baseman Chuck
ready in
Knobloch.
the Mets bullpen. It'll be Chuck Knobloch. Now Apodaca has gone to the phone. They've got lefties Dennis Cook and John Franco. Of course, Franco would be used in a save situation, and Turk Wendell, the right-hander. Bases loaded for Knobloch, one out. Mets infield back at double play depth. High ball one. He has been, as Tino Martinez discussed on a feature on Chuck Knobloch, he has been a pain, a pest when he gets on base and in the batter's box. There's your runners. Curtis, Brocious, and Martinez. Sharte. Alfonso can't reach it. It's into left field. Brocious is being waved home. He got a late start, and he's thrown out. Bad base running by Scott Brocious. And he's thrown out at home. The Yankees pick up one, make it 7-4. He didn't run hard going around third base.
I don't think he expected to get the green light. One thing you got to remember, with Bernard Gilkey out in left field, he has led the National League in assists the last 2 seasons. And you see the strong throwing arm. This is his 8th assist this year as Brocious tries to knock the ball out of the glove of Piazzi. Can't get it done. Knobloch with the base hit. Gilkey charges quickly and comes up throwing. There he's rounding third. He kind of hesitated at third, and that was the difference. I think he expected to be held up, and you can't expect that with Willie Randolph.
You never assume that you're going to be, you run hard until you are held up. And Scott broke into a little bit of a slow gait and then had to turn it on. And as you mentioned, Gilkey with such a strong, or rather accurate arm, maybe not particularly strong, but accurate. So Jeter steps in with 2 down now, and Martinez and Knobloch at second and first in the dirt, ball 1.
Now here's another look at it. He gets a pretty good jump, but watch when Brocious gets to third base. Right here. Yep, he slowed up as he got to the bag, then tried to turn it on, and it was too late. Gilkey with an accurate throw.
Off-speed pitch on the corner, 1-1.
It's a little unusual when left fielders lead the league in assists. Usually it's the right fielders that do it, or center fielders, because left fielders, when there's base hits to left field and a runner is at first, usually he stops at second. A right fielder, sometimes he'll challenge him, and he can get an assist that way.
Outside, 2-1. When a left fielder does lead the league in assists, it shows you how aggressive and how well Gilkey charges the ball. That's the key to throwing runners out from left field. Unusual position by Gilkey as that's lined out into center field. Martinez will be waved home. Knobloch to third, and the Yankees have doubled the score in the 8th inning. It's 8-4.
Now Derek Jeter had 0 for 3 going until his last 2 at-bats. He's come up with 2 base hits, has driven in a run now, and scored 1. That's the way to bounce back from a potentially bad night. Bohannon is not going to face Paul O'Neill following this base hit. See Knobloch get to second, turn for third. And I mentioned this is where the Yankees usually lengthen their leads and just about put ball games away against mediocre pitching out of the bullpen.
8-4 on the Jeter single. Back at Shea Stadium after this.
Homeowner.
Now, things have brightened since the start of tonight's game. No batting practice, threat of rain. But it's improved since then, and improved for the Yankees. They lead at 8-4. We invite you to join our MSG Sports Desk for all the latest news, scores, and highlights from the world of sports. That's right after our game here at Shea Stadium. And then the following Yankee coverage, you'll get extensive coverage of the national sports scene. That's on Fox Sports News tonight at midnight. As Kenny said, it is a saved situation, and Mariano Rivera's in the ballgame.
Pretty good looking numbers. The one that jumps out at me is this one walk. I mean, we've long forgotten who that guy was.
Just 18 base runners. Mendoza was terrific. He would stand to get his 5th win. Husky reached on an error on a rather tough play for Brocious. And then the high chopper by McRae. And here's pinch hitter Louis Lopez off the Met bench. Well inside. Looking for save number 19. He picked up his 18th 2 nights ago. Jam shot right toward Martinez at first. He'll just take the sure out as the runners advance, and the Yankees are 1 out away from a victory in game 1 of this Battle of New York. Matt Franco, another pinch hitter, off Bobby Valentine's bench, will step in.
Number 15, Matt Franco.
Crowd was loud. They got here early. They were having picnics in the parking lot at 3:30 this afternoon, and they were into this game. But Derek Jeter's 2-run single in the 8th inning drove about 5,000 of the 53-plus home, and they have slowly departed since then. And it's been a quiet last 2 innings for Mets fans. Inside, ball 1. Franco played left field last night in place of Bernard Gilkey. You mentioned he had been suffering from the effects of an injury. Had a big hit in that ball game. That's in for a strike, 1-1.
I think what Met fans are seeing tonight is what's been the strength of the Yankees all year long. Starting pitching, although Irabu kind of a so-so game, but the bullpen and being able to score late in ball games against other teams' bullpen.
2-1. You referred to Irabu's outing as so-so, and that's been one of the keys. Even on the nights that the starting pitching has been mediocre, the lineup comes up. That's why their record with 4 runs or more is by far the best in baseball. And then you turn it over to Rivera. Two and two, and the Yankees are 1 strike away. And I would imagine most of the fans left here are Yankee fans. And they rise in anticipation of the last out. Just inside, and the count is full to Franco.
Kenny, you used the word earlier this year, relentless, as far as the Yankees were concerned, and how we all know how professional this ball club is. The fact is, they have a great record. They come in with a record of 53-19, and they treat games very professionally. As Franco draws the walk, got to bring the tying run to the plate.
Now that's an indication of Mariano Rivera not being at his sharpest tonight. When he threw the first pitch of the inning, he kind of reached at his shoulder like he wasn't really loose. I mean, even though it's hot, he did pitch an inning 2 nights ago, but a little different every night. Maybe this doesn't feel quite as good. Alfonso now represents the tying run. The Mets have him loaded.
Yeah, my point being how professional they are and how they treat ball games. You know, they didn't want to make a big deal out of this. They want to treat it like any other game, and that doesn't say much for the rest of baseball. They've been running through the American and sometimes the National League.
Ball 1. A chance to tie it. And he has 1 grand slam and some pretty lofty numbers. Very lofty numbers with the bases loaded. In for a strike, 1-1. He homered earlier tonight against Irabu. And that home run gave the Mets a 3-2 lead. That was back in the 5th inning. Outside corner, strike 2, and again the Mets are down to their last strike. straight back. He gave Arabu a tough at-bat to start this ball game for the Mets and ended up drawing a walk.
I think the Mets have gotten what they've wanted to this point. They've gotten a chance to tie the game. When you're down by a bunch of runs and it's getting late.
Hey, look who's on his feet. The ex-Met, Keith Hernandez. And it's 2-2. Been that kind of night. Can't drink enough of that stuff. Popped up. Playable. Posada. Near the foul line. Puts it away, and the Yankees have defeated the Mets 8-4 in game one of this three-game series. Bobby Valentine brought Mel Rojas in to face Paul O'Neill. A move that's worked all year, but he hit the three-run homer, the key blow, and Joe Torre's Yankees win another season opener, series opener.
As the Mets look on, they watch their crosstown rivals for the 54th time this year out in the middle of the field congratulating each other. The best record in all of baseball. Big hit by that man who's been getting a lot of big hits lately, Paul O'Neill. The toast of the town tonight in New York.
Hideki Arabu not particularly effective, but the biggest out he got in the ball game was back in inning number 1 when the Mets had a chance to blow this one out. Save number 19 for Rivera. Day game tomorrow. Andy Pettit and Bobby Jones, the pitchers. Lots more to analyze and discuss here on MSG. Yankees are the toast in New York tonight. Back on MSG after this.
New York Yankees baseball on MSG. The Yanks go interleague at the stadium against the Philadelphia Phillies after New York City Marriott scorecard. Tuesday night on MSG.
Don't be throwing it.
Belong to Paul O'Neill, and he's standing by right now with Al Trautwig. Al?
Okay, Jimmy. Paul, before the series started, you know, everyone except for the guys in the locker room was making a big deal out of it. How did the atmosphere with the fans and the chanting and everything, the packed ballpark, how did your attitude change about playing this game when it started?
Well, I think anytime you play in New York with 50,000 people, it's going to be exciting. I think that, you know, they're true fans. There's no doubt about it. And I'm just glad, you know, it was a well-played game. I mean, we had some big hits, and, you know, you're not going to beat Leiter very often. And we got a break, and for some reason he got out of the game. Hopefully it's not serious. He's throwing the ball real well. But, you know, Hideki kept us in the game. Dozier came in through a good job. And it was fun. It's always fun to play this series.
It looks to me as though it's always amazing that the baseball gods work the way they do. There you are, a ball over your head. There you are, next at bat, coming up, one pitch over the wall, three-run home run. Tell me about the emotions that you went through in that sequence, that inning.
Well, you know, Piazza hits the ball and it just took off. I thought I had it. Next thing I know, it's over my head. And, you know, as a player in a tie game, you feel bad about it. But, you know, you come back and get an opportunity to get a hit and put us ahead. I just, you know, you thank God for nights like this anyway. It's fun to play baseball, and it's a lot of fun to play here in New York.
You look very, very pumped. You don't show that kind of emotion often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't. Come on.
Says I do. I don't know. I mean, when you hit a home run to put your team ahead against anybody, you know, you're happy about it. And I don't hit enough home runs to take them for granted.
Now you're going to go inside, talk to the media for a few minutes, and then in about 30 seconds start thinking about tomorrow. The schedule extremely difficult.
It has been tough. This is a tough week. It may be good. I mean, we'll come out here just a little tired and maybe take a little of the edge out and just get us out there playing baseball. But the scheduling has been tough, but I think the teams that we've been playing and the crowds we've been playing in front of helps us a lot.
Thanks a lot for your time, as always.
We'll see you.
All right, Paul O'Neill. The Yankees, they're a little bit pooped. It's a long, hot, humid day. A lot of sweating going on. But the Yankees come from behind. I'll tell you, the middle innings of this ball game were outstanding. But it is the Yankees 8 and the New York Mets 4. They take game 1 of the Subway Series. Jim Kaat?
And as we look at our Jeep Eagle game summary, Al, and viewers, that tells you what kind of team the Yankees have been all year. The Mets led it 4-3, but those 5 runs in the last 3 innings add up to an 8-4 win. Ramiro Mendoza, who was very effective in relief, his record now 5-1. Al Leiter pitched very effectively, had to leave the game with a leg injury. Mariano Rivera saves his 19th. 3 home runs in the game, 2 by the Mets, and a big night for Jorge Posada as well as Paul O'Neill, and the Yankees run their record to 9-2 in interleague play. But you can rehash this one, and there's so many key moments, starting with Rabu's getting Olerud on the double play in inning 1.
Yeah, he fought back there. I think anytime you have the bases loaded, nobody out, and you come away with 1 run being scored, it is big. It is inning management, as you called it. There's the double play ball. Knobloch. Jeter made a heck of a turn, as there was a lot of pressure put on him at second base. So they got out of that one. The Yankees went on the score. You mentioned 5 runs in those 2 innings, but they also scored in 5 straight innings against the Mets, Al Leiter, and their bullpen, and that's where the game really turned. Once you got to the Mets bullpen, the Yankees were able to really turn it around with some run scoring.
Yeah, even though he isn't having what I'd call an all-star caliber year like he had last year, the value of Chuck Knobloch in that leadoff spot really came through again tonight with those patient at-bats and drawn walks.
Well, not only that, he takes a lot of pitches. And on a hot night, it's going to make the starters work. He got a couple of walks. We mentioned his hitting, his batting average has been falling, but his ability to still get on base and make things happen once he gets on really helps out the Yankees. I think he sets the tone for this ball club at the top of the order. So Knobloch, Jeter was 0 for 3, comes back with 2 hits in a row, and he comes up with a run scored and a base hit. So I think those 2 guys at the top of the order. You can talk about anybody. Posada, second time he's batted 5th this year, he gets 3 hits.
Well, I thought this was the Mets' best chance because they had their best pitchers. So you look at the matchups tomorrow, you got Andy Pettitte against Bobby Jones, and then Sunday night should be terrific with El Duque, Orlando Hernandez against Masato Yoshii. Those are the pitching matchups for the rest of the series.
And you can expect over 50,000 for each of those ball games. And once again, the Yankees playing big time in front of big crowds. They went down to Atlanta and did it. They took 3 out of 4 against the Braves, a very tough team, the best team the National League has to offer. And I think Mets fans are seeing what Yankee fans are seeing all season long. These guys are good.
They're good, and they play in front of at least 50,000 every night lately. They'll do it again tomorrow and Sunday. Right now, we're going to head down to our downtown studios at the MSG Sports Desk for Bill Daughtry. Bill?
Thank you, Kitty. Mike Richter, he was drafted #1 by the new Predators in the NHL expansion draft today. The Ranger goaltender, however, expected to re-sign with the Rangers. Therefore, if that does happen, the Rangers would have to fork over a compensatory pick to the new Predator franchise from Nashville in the NHL. Some other locals of significance going in the expansion draft today. Devils goaltender Mike Dunham, he is expected to stick around, as is Islander defenseman J.J. Dagneau. Ube Krupp, the former Islander defenseman, now with the Colorado Avalanche, and Doug Brown, formerly of the Devils, now with the 2-time defending champion Detroit Red Wings, was also drafted today by the Nashville Predators. It'll be very interesting to see how those 26 players shake out. At Wimbledon, Steffi Graf lost in straight sets today. Natasha Zareva beating Graf for the first time in 18 meetings. At the World Cup, on the scoreboard, England advanced. They beat Colombia 2-0. Romania and Tunisia played to a 1-1 tie. It was Argentina with a 1-0 win over Croatia, and Jamaica, with the first win by a Caribbean nation since Cuba in 1938, beat Japan 2-1. We'll tell you about the New York Liberty and the victory at the Garden when we return after these commercial messages. Third in a row.
Once again, the final score from Shea Stadium. The Yankees win it 8-4. Mendoza the winner, Leiter the loser. Mariano Rivera gets his 19th save. We invite you to stay with us for our post-game report. First of all, we'll look at the Dodge drive of the game. No surprise to those of you who have been with us. Yankees were down 4-3 when Paul O'Neill took this Mel Rojas breaking ball over the 371 sign. Brought everybody on the dugout to their feet. That made it 6-4 Yankees. That's our Dodge drive of the game. 53,000 plus file out. We invite you to join us for our Tri-State Jeep and Eagle post-game report coming up from Shea Stadium. Michael Kay will report from the Yankee clubhouse. Howie Rose from the Met clubhouse. Next time we'll see you on MSG is next Tuesday night, starting with the New York City Marriott's Yankee Scorecard Show. The Phillies and the Yankees. David Cohn scheduled to pitch in that one. Well, New York is a big event town, and they were out. The Stars, yep, Jerry Seinfeld, ex-Met Keith Hernandez. They were treated to some highlights from the Mets. Alfonso with a solo homer. That gave the Mets the lead early. Arabu lasted into the 6th. That was the lead run as Paul O'Neill was fooled by the line drive off the bat of Mike Piazza. But after the home run and 2 more runs in the 8th, it was all Yankees. For Leon Schweier, Bill Webb, Eddie Caginelli, for my partner Ken Singleton, everyone on our crew at Shea Stadium, so long. Yankees win 8-4.
is a Subway Series edition of the Jeep and Eagle postgame report. It's brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers, and there is only one Jeep, and it's only at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. We're back at Shea Stadium, which was roaring for most of the night. The Yankees come from behind and beat the Mets by a count of 8-4. Ramiro Mendoza outstanding in relief. He's now 5-1. Al Leiter leaves the game with a sprained knee. He's 9-4, and now day-to-day suffering the loss. Mariano Rivera has his 19th save of the season, and the Yankees take game one of this three-game set that has New York all sorts of interested. Good evening, everybody. I'm Al Trautwig outside the Yankees dugout. Here's the plan. We've got Michael Kay in the Yankees clubhouse. Hopefully we'll hear from Joe Torre. We already heard from Paul O'Neill. Meanwhile, Howie Rose is going to give us the Mets perspective from the Mets clubhouse. It's going to be interesting to hear the response of Bobby Valentine. Why, oh why, did you pitch Mel Rojas, a righty, to Tino Martinez, a lefty, or to Paul O'Neill, the lefty, for the home run, the one-pitch shot that went over the left field wall? The highlights of this game are going to start with one of the best moments of the night when the crowd was the loudest. Ex-Yankee manager, ex-Met manager, ex-Yankee, and for two at-bats, a Met as well. Yogi Berra starts things off in the Discover Playback Payback. There was a huge roar as Yogi Berra stepped out. He's got a hot book. He's got a Hall of Fame soon, a museum over in New Jersey, a stadium named after him. Tino Martinez didn't start, but he would play. Here's how it unfolded. Hideki Irabu struggled with his control early and loaded the bases. But John Olerud grounded into a 4-6-3 double play. The Mets get only one run. In the second inning, the Yankees threatened. 2 on, no outs. Shad Curtis lines a shot to Ray Ordonez. That becomes a highlight that we'll look at in the postseason. Almost was a triple play. Obviously, that was well received in the Met dugout. Jorge Posada singles up the middle. This is in the fourth. Paul O'Neill had singled. He scores. The Yankees had tied the game at 1. Now let's jump to the top of the 5th inning. Chuck Knobloch, with Joe Girardi at third, comes through with a single up the middle. The RBI gives the Yankees the lead 2-1. Now we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. What's the Mets' response? Here it is. And there it goes over the wall for Brian McRae, his 9th home run of the season that ties the game at 2. Was Hideki Irabu tiring, or was that just a one-swing moment? Before this inning was over, we would find out, because 3 batters later, Edgardo Alfonso drilled a homer to left, the 2nd home run of the inning. The Mets had the lead at 3-2, and the Met fans were loud. Hideki Irabu exasperated and definitely tired. In the 6th, Scott Brocious gets the game tied again with a base hit to drive in Jorge Posada. That tied the game at 3. But in the bottom of the 6th inning, Hideki Irabu was allowed to pitch again. And the Mets would wind up with 2nd and 3rd, nobody out, and Carlos Baerga grounds one to Posada, steps on the bag instead of going home. The Yankees get the DP, but it's 4-3 Mets. Top of the 7th, the big drive. Paul O'Neill with 2 on. The first pitch from Mel Rojas. His 10th of the season, a 3-run shot. Watch this, Don Zimmer and Joe Torre on the top step. You think these guys weren't a little extra interested in this one? Edgardo Alfonso with the bases loaded in the 9th. One swing could have tied the ball game, but Mariano Rivera, who got a ground out, walked the batter, and that final out got the handshake from Jorge Posada. And the Yankees win this one by a final of 8-4. Lots to come. We'll hear from both clubhouses. Michael Kay, Howie Rose. The Yankees win it. Let's go back to the MSG Sports Desk.
Thanks, Al. Interleague play tonight. The Cleveland Indians had to come back to beat the Houston Astros at Jacobs Field in a battle of Central Division leaders. Indians with a 4-2 victory. Bartolo Colon, the winning pitcher tonight for the Cleveland Indians. Meanwhile, down in Florida, it was Pedro Martinez winning his 10th of the year as the Bo Sox had no problem with the Florida Marlins. 6-1 the final down in South Florida. With other games tonight, interleague games on the scoreboard. Sammy Sosa, no homers for Sammy. Steve Traxel gets his 4th straight loss. Kansas City beat the Cubs 6-3. Minnesota with a 5-1 victory over St. Louis. Mark McGwire also taking the collar both in the hit column and the home run column. Marty Cordova, he had the big night for the Twins. 3 for 4, a home run and 2 runs batted in. Elsewhere on the interleague scoreboard, it was Cincinnati with a 4-3 win over Detroit. Pete Harnisch with his 7th win of the season. He is rejuvenated in Cincinnati. Montreal with a 9-4 victory over the still slumping Baltimore Orioles. Rondell White 4 for 5 with his 15th homer. He knocked in 4 runs to boot. Rookie Sidney Ponson was pounded by the Expos tonight in Montreal. Philadelphia blanked the Devil Rays 7-0. Tyler Green with the victory, pitching 7 shutout innings. Tampa Bay has dropped 7 of their last 9. Toronto beat Atlanta tonight in Atlanta 6-4. Carlos Delgado 3 for 4 on the night with a home run and 2 runs batted in. Atlanta still sliding. They've lost 7 of their last 9 games. Milwaukee, they edged the Chicago White Sox 2-1. Jeff Juden gets the victory. Bob Wickman, the former Yankee, with the save. The big hurt, Frank Thomas, he had an RBI base hit. Oakland and Colorado, that ball game now in the 7th inning. A mini slugfest brewing there. Nathy Perez is in a home run in that ball game. Ben Grieve, he's knocked in 3 runs for Oakland. Seattle and Arizona at Bank One Ballpark. Junior Griffey has number 31, creeping up on the big league leaders. It's 4-4 in the 4th. Travis Lee with 2 home runs for the Snakes. Anaheim, they lead San Diego 3-1 that ball game in the 4th. Big Daddy Cecil Fielder with a home run. Ken Caminiti, he is also homered in that ball game for San Diego. And one other interleague score, San Francisco with a 2-0 lead over Texas. That ball game in the 3rd. Former Met Chris Jones, he's got a 2-run single in that ball game for the Giants. One other game that is strictly National League, it's a 2-2 ball game. Pirates and Dodgers in the late show at Chavez Ravine. Rookie Paul Konerko, he's got a 2-run homer in that ball game for L.A. Some all-star news for you. It's Vera Clemente and Lee McPhail. They are your honorary captains for this year's all-star game at Coors Field on July 7th. More Yankee postgame coverage coming up straight ahead on MSG Network.
Sports News, prime time. Fame, fortune, they could have it all, but
if my arm does get hurt here, I've got the Stanford degree.
Tonight, why the draft Dodgers are staying in school. Tonight at midnight.
This portable Iowa music system features a dual CD changer, double cassette deck, digital tuner, remote control, and Q sound for 3D enhancement. Call 1-800-BUY-IOWA.
We're back on the Tri-State Jeep and Eagle Dealers post-game report on MSG. Tonight, the crowd better than 53,000, and boy, did the people come to cheer. Made a lot of noise. Mets fans for a time thought they had it 4-3, but Paul O'Neill's home run changed all of that. Mendoza gets the win. Let's go inside the Yankee locker room to the manager's office, Joe Torre.
Joe, nice win for you. It seemed like a big game coming in, and you come from behind.
Well, you know, Michael, you've been around us all year. Every game's a big game. And but coming from behind, yeah, I mean, the crowd was wonderful. You know, you hate to say whichever way it goes, it would have been a hell of an experience. But I'm glad we won to enjoy it more.
Mel O'Neill's home run off of, I guess it was a Mel Rojas splitter that didn't go down.
I think so. It was something off speed. And, I mean, the approach that O'Neill had was terrific. You know, not trying to pull the ball. And, you know, he's such a big play guy for us. After he come around from after hitting a home run, he says, now put somebody in the defense. But yeah, I have a good group. You know that.
How about a Robbo?
Robbo was good. You know, I thought his velocity, everything was good, and he didn't give up many hits, but the two home runs, and that was the problem. Aside from that, I thought it was a pretty good outing. For his stuff, I thought it could have been better.
Mendoza was great.
Mendoza was outstanding. I mean, he attacked tonight, and I thought that was very important. He wasn't tentative at all. Went after it, and, you know, unfortunately couldn't finish the game, not really any of his doing. But he was great. He gave us a big lift.
All right, final thing, Joe. Obviously, everybody says game-to-game basis with this team, but is there a significant amount of pressure for you as the manager? You know you have an owner that wants to win these games. He's wanted to win exhibition games against the Mets.
You know, Michael, there's pressure. There's always pressure. And to me, I sit in that dugout, and I'm not thinking of anything other than winning a game, especially when you have a lead. So I really don't feel any additional pressure just because we're playing the Mets, other than, you know, the pride factor of wanting to win, especially when you get a lead. And I thought we kept our composure when we were behind in the game and just were very patient, waiting our situation.
All right, that's Michael Kay with Joe Torre. Obviously, he's happy 1/3 of this, of what he's called a spectacle, is over. The big question remains here, the one pitch, the one swing that dramatically changed the game. Al Leiter got injured on this particular sequence when he leaned the wrong way, wound up spraining his knee, and the Yankees got a chance to get into the Met bullpen. The bullpen door sprung open. Out came Mel Rojas, who is a righty, against a lefty, Paul O'Neill. That's not normally a good thing. The result was the 3-run home run. Here's how Valentine explained it.
Well, the philosophy is my left-handers are, as I told you, Cook is not available tonight. Bohannon has not had success against left-handers. Pulsifer's been in the big leagues 2 days. I have a guy who left-handers are hitting about 180 against. A seasoned veteran who struck out the next 2 left-handers, didn't he? And I think he did that. Just made a bad pitch to a very good hitter, and he hit it out. But you know, I mean, I could easily go with the percentage and not worry about any second guessing, but that's not a baseball play. The baseball play is to bring in the guy who gets left-handers out the best in an emergency situation. I mean, Al will schedule a pitch there. I wasn't planning on anyone coming in to pitch to Paul O'Neill. I mean, that was not a plan of that inning. And you know, when Al leaves, you make a decision out there, and you go with the guy who's the best. And you know, he's gotten them out all year at a pretty regular base, pretty steady diet. And wish he threw the pitches he threw to the next 2 guys and struck the next 2 guys out. I wish he threw that pitch first to Paul, but it was a bit of a hanger, and it was deposited.
It was deposited over the left field wall. Time now for the New York Marriott Marquis Clubhouse Report with Michael Kay. The New York Marriott Marquis is Broadway's biggest hit. Back outside the Yankee dugout, what do you make of Bobby Valentine's explanation?
Well, you know, if Dennis Cook isn't available, then the mistake was made earlier this week using Cook too much, because you have to have Dennis Cook available when you're playing a team with Paul O'Neill and with Tino Martinez in the lineup. So Dennis Cook's not available. That's still not a good enough excuse. You've got to have lefties that could get out lefties. I know you don't use Franco there in the 7th inning, and the fact that Leiter got hurt is no excuse, because you could take as long as you want to warm people up. Rojas has struggled lately, and I don't think I bring in Rojas to face O'Neill, although O'Neill said that he has struggled against Rojas in the past.
Mike, let's stick with the Bobby Valentine story for a moment. We obviously have lots to cover, but Tino Martinez comes up 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, and he's got the infield charging in as if Tino's going to pull up some sort of suicide attempt. He's got that weird play with Olerud off of first where he has to get back to the throw from the pitcher. That's asking for trouble. I doubt if it's ever been successful. If it has, it's 1 or 2 times at the most. And then this play with Mel Rojas. You almost think Bobby Valentine's trying to show that he knows something everybody else doesn't.
Well, Valentine is known in baseball as a guy who likes to show how smart he is, although the play did work on Ricky Leday later in the game, and also Jim Leland uses it with Derek Lee at first. It's a little bit strange, but it is distracting to a runner. As for the runners charging on Tino Martinez, that's a little weird, because you do that against a slap-hitting infielder, or, you know, even a slap-hitting outfielder that's just trying to put the ball in play. So if he sees the infield back, he just lays the ball down, tries to hit a ground ball. But Tino Martinez is not going to do that. He's a run producer for the Yankees. So all that is to say, hey, you know, I'm a pretty bright guy. Look at the infield coming in there. And then they stayed in after that, but they weren't going to fool the Yankees. You don't do that sort of stuff against the Yankee team. That's a very professional team. They go at bat to at bat, inning to inning, and, you know, they do things the way they're supposed to be done.
I think the good thing about this game was, A, that it was close enough, long enough for the fans to stay into it. Also, I thought this game indicated how the seasons of these 2 teams have gone. The Yankees have had some the Mets have had some bullpen problems lately. Mel Rojas hasn't been nearly as good as what they thought. And the Yankees score the runs late, go into the bullpen where someone steps up a hero, and one of their veteran guys delivers the big hit.
And that's the way it's been all year. This is no surprise to anybody who's followed the Yankees all season. They don't give up. I mean, they were very, very frustrated against Leiter. I just spoke to a lot of Yankees, and, you know, no one wants to see another player get hurt. But when Leiter actually left the ball game, they were kind of happy, because they did not think that they were going to be able to hit Leiter. If they did hit him, it would be a lot of hard work. So when he left the ball game, they felt pretty good.
All right, you saw the emotion from the Yankees after that Paul O'Neill home run. With all the things going on in the ballpark, both of these teams were into it big time. When we come back, we're going to get the Mets perspective with Howie Rose, and we'll hear from Al Leiter as well. Back in a moment.
Report brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer. There's only one Jeep, and it's only at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer.
We're back at Shea Stadium, where the Yankees come back from a 4-3 deficit. 8-4 the final score. The big swing, as we've mentioned, Paul O'Neill's 3-run home run. Up until that point, Al Leiter was really on his game. Up 4-3 in the 7th inning, though. He sprains his knee on this particular, on the play that we showed you moments ago. Here's some of the good stuff. Reaching on the outside part of the plate. Leiter had won 6 straight games coming into this ball game, and here's what he had to say a few moments ago on the Mets side of Shea.
Any loss is upsetting, and then to get all the emotions of great fans here that were supporting the Mets and having such a great game into the 7th with the Mets leading 4-3 and then having it turn out the way it did, is definitely disappointing, sure.
You walked off gingerly. You walked down the steps gingerly, and then the final steps out of that door even more gingerly. And then you get in here and he says MRI. Does that scare you? I mean, does that scare you more than...
It would scare me if he was MRI on my arm, my elbow.
Okay.
My shoulder.
Does that mean it didn't scare you?
No, I'm concerned that I'm hoping that it's not something really bad tomorrow as far as, well, I hope it's not bad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Now, what's your frame of reference for an injury like this? Have you had anything like it happen before?
Never my left. I had a situation where it was downpouring in 3-Comp Park last year, and I threw a pitch, and there was a pop-up to the right side, and as I was running off, I slipped on the grass, and ultimately I had knee surgery last year on my right knee, which, you know, the injury happened in April, and basically I pitched with it for the year, but never my left, so it's a bit of concern for me.
How do you measure the frustration level of A, getting hurt, and sort of B, having to come out of the game? Two separate issues.
Yeah, I think I was more frustrated just with the fact that I made a good pitch on Jeter, and he breaks his bat and hits a little scribbler over to the right side, and, you know, not only do we not get an out, it's he gets a base hit out of it, and I blow my knee out. So it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3 hurtful feelings. But I wasn't feeling, you know, I wasn't that concerned with how my knee felt as opposed to its first and second with 1 out.
Now, good guy Al Leiter takes the loss. Now we're going to get the Mets perspective. Fox Sports New York's Howie Rose joins us. The first thing appearing on the Yankee pregame, though, do you know the meaning of extrapolate? Only kidding. Al Leiter, you know, looked a little, you know, bummed out there. Not only does he lose the ball game, but gets hurt, too.
Well, he's concerned. I mean, he just explained that he had a problem with his other knee last year. But I think what a lot of us thought was that he might have injured it on the pivot because he falls off to the third base side. Then he had to make a quick pivot and start towards first base. It wasn't there. It was as he got to the first base bag that he heard something pop. And he is legitimately concerned.
Now, he might brings up a point. Dennis Cook's not available. He's been used a lot lately. Was there a way that Bobby Valentine could have avoided using him so much lately to use him in this series?
Well,
and give us your whole take on that Mel Rojas appearance.
Couple of issues. First of all, when the Mets were in Montreal last week, it was 2 days after they'd lost a game in Florida. They had a 2-run lead. Brian Bohannon, left-hand pitcher, had given up a 2-run home run to left-hand batting Cliff Floyd. That tied the game. So a couple of nights later in Montreal, game on the line, Brad Fulmer, a left-hand hitter in the box for the Expos, and Bobby went with Mel Rojas. The reason being that the split-fingered fastball, and particularly Rojas' split, is generally very effective against left-hand batters. That's the primary reason he brought him in tonight, and the primary reason that he's not afraid to use him against left-handers. Rojas did throw a split, but it was just up and out over the plate enough for Paul O'Neill to extend his arms and find the seats.
A couple of key plays by the Yankees. One I thought was in the first inning when Hideki Irabu looked like he could have been had. Mets had bases loaded, nobody out, and then they got a double play and only gave up 1 run. Let's go back to the Yankee perspective and a key play involving Jorge Posada, Mike.
Well, it was a double play, and it was hard hit. There's runners on first and third for the Mets at that time. A hard hit ball to Posada, who's playing first base for the first time in his professional career. You have it right here, and it's a hot shot, and he said that he's thinking right there, well, I'm going to touch first, and then I'm going to come home. You'll hear him talk about it a little bit later on, but this is simply a brain cramp. And, you know, Joe Torre gambled today by having Jorge Posada play first base. It paid off a little bit because he got 3 base hits at the beginning, got a big RBI single as well. But right there gave the Mets the lead, and you had to start to wonder, gee, maybe they should have started Tino Martinez.
Well, now is the time to hear from Jorge Posada, who got his first ever Major League start at first. He explains the incident.
I was thinking, you know, catch the ball, you know, you see the ball, if it's a chop, you know, slow runner or something, just go home. But if, you know, if it was hit hard and stuff, just step on the bag and throw home, or I didn't do it.
So it was just a brain cramp at that point?
A little bit, yep.
What kind of feeling was this game? I mean, was there a lot of pressure?
No, not really. It was fun, though, you know. The fans were awesome. You know, the game was very exciting, and we got out there and played a good game.
Love the honesty of Jorge Posada. Was it a brain cramp?
Yeah,
yeah, it was. Let's just talk about the experience, because I thought tonight was fabulous. I walked around the ballpark an awful lot, and it looked like the fans were having a great time giving it to each other. Both groups of fans had reasons to cheer for various lengths of the ball game. Howie, what about you?
Well, I thought last year, and I've used this term before, was baseball Woodstock, you know, where all you really were missing were the beads and John Lennon there singing Give Peace a Chance, because it was a baseball experience that was, I think, unique to New Yorkers, and certainly New Yorkers who aren't old enough to remember the Subway Series. This one tonight seemed like it had a little more of an edge to it. between the fans than last year did. And I don't know what happened in the stands in terms of anything, fisticuffs or anything like that. I haven't heard that there was anything too serious.
I think there were a couple of incidents.
Yeah, but I think this, and this is just my perception, had a little bit more of an edge to it.
And the problem now is there's only one Woodstock, so there's nothing else that we can compare tonight to.
And how often can you bring that back anyway?
Well, the funny thing to me is how you listen to everybody on each team and how they're trying to downplay it. But Derek Jeter said to me, if we win this series, then it's really big. He said, but we keep saying that, you know, if we don't win the series, it's just another series in June. And they're all hedging their bets. But everybody in each and every one of those clubhouses wants to win this series very badly. I think that Bobby Valentine, for his team, this is a litmus test. He wants to show that he can play with the big boys. This is a very good Mets team. He's a very good manager, and he wants to show he could beat the best team in baseball. As for the Yankees, you know, it's one of those things. There's nothing they could win. If they win, they're supposed to win. And if they lose, well, how could you lose to the Mets? And they also have an owner back in Tampa that desperately wants to win 2 out of these 3 games. So I think there's a lot more pressure on the Yankees than there are on the Mets.
Mets couldn't wait to get out of the dugout to greet Ray Ordonez after that great double play. That had a playoff feel to it. And Paul O'Neill's greeting with the players on the field after his home run, that looked like it meant a little bit something more to the team than just another game. The Yankees, by the way, are 35 games above 500 now. The Mets, Howie Rose, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Al, thank you.
We'll see you on Fox Sports New York soon. We'll be back to wrap things up in a moment. This is the Jeep and Eagle postgame. Oh, we're done. Sorry. Michael Kay, I'm Al Trautwig. Thanks for joining us here on the first game of this Subway Series that the Yankees win over the New York Mets 8-4. Ramiro Mendoza outstanding, as you heard Joe Torre explain. He gets the win. Tuesday, we'll see you again. Tomorrow's on Fox. Sunday is on ESPN. The New York City Marriott's Yankee scorecard begins our coverage of more interleague baseball. It's the Phillies and the Yankees. Coming up next, Bill Daughtry gives you a complete update on the day's events in sports at the MSG Sports Desk. And then at midnight from Hollywood, it's Fox Sports News. Lots of neat stuff happened tonight at Shea Stadium. How about Ray Ordonez and El Duque bonding in a Cuban sort of way before the game? And when this game got going, Ray Ordonez did what he's been doing all season and beyond. That was a double play that deserved an asterisk on everyone's scorecard. Brian McRae, he went out in the Hideki Irabu 5th inning. And then Edgardo Alfonso stepped to the plate and did the same. It was the signal that Irabu was tired and done. Paul O'Neill, however, responded with a 3-run home run that gave the Yankees a lead. And although the Mets made it interesting in the 9th, that was it. Mariano Rivera came in to nail it down as Don Zimmer signaled touchdown, and Bobby Valentine winced at that turn of events. With our crew here at Shea Stadium, I'm Al Trautwig. Thanks for joining us. Mike McCarthy is our executive producer.
Now, with the latest scores, highlights, and sports news from around the globe. This is Fox Sports News.
Finally, the weekend, or should I say, finally, the Subway Series. Not quite the hottest ticket in the free world. Of course, that would be Fox Sports News, and you've got field-level seating. Welcome to the Fox Network Center. Steve Lyons, Jeannie Zelasco, taking care of things.
And we're going to call on the Fox Sports Jumbotron to take care of business as it rolls out here. Give us a peek at some of our top stories this hour. The New York subways are rowdy enough without the Met and Yankee fans on them. Subway Series begins in the Big Apple.
Junior does some yard work in Arizona.
And Wimbledon, 3rd round action. Steffi Graf trying to quench her thirst for another Grand Slam title.
The Major League playoffs may be 3 months away, but don't tell that to anyone in the Big Apple. The feel of the postseason has taken over Gotham as the Subway Series between the Mets and Yankees is underway. And for the first time in 13 years, both teams are contenders for the playoffs. So now is as good a time as any to settle Big Apple bragging rights, right? This one's special from the ceremonial start. Oh, Yogi Berra and the ghost of Babe Ruth. More importantly, Yogi wearing a Mets hat. First pitch worked. Top of the second, the real stuff. 1-0 Mets. Yankees have runners on first and second. Nobody out. Chad Curtis rips the outlier pitch. But look at Ray Ordonez. The great diving catch. And there's more as he doubles up Tim Raines off second. Almost had the triple working. Bottom 5, 2-1 Yanks. Brian McRae with the sayonara ball off Hideki Irabu. Right off the foul pole in right. The Big Apple's rocking. Game tied at 2. 2 batters later, Edgardo Alfonso. Solo shot of his own off of Irabu. Look out in the pen. Mets up 3-2. Seinfeld on hand. He's got some spare time these days. Top of 7-4-3 Mets. Bad luck. Al Leiter running to cover first, and look, he kind of comes up lame. Strains his left knee. Leiter has to check out. So it's Mel Rojas in relief Or is this relief? Paul O'Neill, the monster blast. Very first pitch taking the ride. 3-run shot. O'Neill's 10th of the year puts the Yankees up 6-4, and they go on to take it 8-4 the final. The Yankees take game 1. They're now 9-2 in interleague games. Fox 10 takes us to the Big Apple, where we're hanging out in both locker rooms. Don't worry, we've got you covered.
Paul O'Neill, a monster home run to win this game for the Yankees. Well, what did that feel like when it went over the wall?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you come back late in the game, it's a great feeling, especially with 50,000 people. And, you know, I felt like I'd kind of misplayed a ball the inning before where they took the lead. And I thought it was a well-played game. We obviously came out on top, but, you know, Leiter's tough. He's throwing the ball well. So it was good that we stayed close and we got some big hits late.
When Leiter gets hurt, Paul, are you expecting him to bring in a lefty? Are you surprised that it's Rojas?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, I faced him in the National League and didn't have much success off him whatsoever. And if he throws his pitches, he's as tough as anybody. He just hung that pitch a little bit, and I'm just glad we played here tonight because that ball doesn't go out in Yankee Stadium. So, you know, the wind was blowing, and I think it helped it.
Final thing, it's June 26th. A lot of teams, a lot of guys have been saying it's just another game, but 53,000 people here. The eyes of the city are on this game. Is it another game?
Well, it is in the standings, obviously, while you're playing it, and there's this much excitement around the ballpark and this much press and stuff that puts a little more, you know, emphasis on the games. But I think that for the most part, you know, a week from now, we'll look back and it was a 3-game series. But yeah, I think while you're playing it, sure, there's a little more going on.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
We'll see you.
That's it from the Yankee clubhouse, and let's go now to Sam Marciano with the Mets.
Thanks. So I'm here with Brian McRae. Brian, a home run in the 5th inning has got to be a good way to break the ice in this much hyped series.
Well, yeah, it felt good to get that home run, and I think that tied the score up. And you know, just in that situation, you're wanting to score and get the team back in the ball game. I think the Yankees had just scored the inning before that, so it was good for us to come back, and we put 2 back on the board there. And Arabi, we hadn't seen him much, so you know, the first time around the lineup, we didn't have a lot of good at-bats against him. But after that, we seemed to swing the bat a little bit better off him, but we couldn't put a real big inning together.
There was so much talk about this series going into it. Very close game, back and forth. Did it live up to the hype? What was it like to play in it?
Yeah, it was an exciting game, but you know, we lost, so I won't say it was any fun. But they have a good ball club, and every time we scored, they answered the challenge. We couldn't stop them. We'd take the lead, and they'd come back and score runs, and they just kept pouring it on. So they prove why they have the best record in baseball, and you know, we have some work cut out for us these next 2 games.
Okay, Brian, thanks for taking the time, and now let's go back to the Fox Network Center.
Thanks, Sam. Taking a look at the aces of the Big Apple's interleague rivals shows Leiter having a bit better season so far than his Yankee counterpart. However, what counts in the end are the W's in the win column, and the pinstripes came away with the winners in this one. And we're not